But some of those who've been convicted include two 12-year-old boys who have pleaded guilty and a 13-year-old girl who has admitted cases involved in the violence. What is going on our streets when young teens are getting involved in this sort of disorder? Well, let's talk about this with somebody who's worked very closely with teenagers over the years to try and tackle this. This is Pastor Lorraine Jones Burrell. She's the Chief Executive of the Dwayne Simpson Foundation and has for many years basically trying to help get peace on our streets. Good morning to you, Pastor Lorraine.
Good morning, Julia.
Thanks so much. I just wanted to ask you first. I mean, look, we were all disgusted and horrified by the scenes we saw on the streets in the wake of the Southport attack. In no way does what happened to those three girls and the others who were stabbed justify that sort of behaviour ever. But what was your reaction when you saw that two 12-year-old boys and a 13-year-old girl are among those who have actually got now convictions for that rioting?
It's absolutely heart-wrenching to see that our children have been convicted of such. As you've said, Julia, I work extensively with young people, and I have been since my son was killed by knife crime in 2014.
Yeah.
Children are a product of their environment. That's the environment in the society they live in, the home they are from, the environment of their communities. And for these children to respond in such a way where we saw grown adults responding in even worse violence, I think we need to look at how we can support those young people. We need to speak to them why they responded in that way and deal with things on a public health response. I think it's a disgrace that the juvenile system is having more and more young people enter into the juvenile system and in prison. I think it's a disgrace to our society because our young people are the future of Britain and they need to be invested in more so that they can run this society better when we're older.
Well, I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? And I know there's been a lot of talk over the years, particularly in London, about, knife crime and the spate of knife crime attacks by young black teens against young black teens. And again, I've spoken many times on here on the station I was on before, about how, if it was happening to little white middle-class girls, then there'd be a lot more worry about it in the institutions than there has been about working-class black kids. But it's interesting today that we've got Mel Stride. He's one of the candidates to be the Tory leader, and he said the riots show that white working-class boys feel distanced from society. Do you think we do have an issue there?
I think that the issue that we're having now is something which we really want to get rid of. We're looking at race, we're looking at colour, and we shouldn't be looking at that. We should be looking at the individuals and how we want the society to be that we live in. My stance is on peace. My heart goes out to all races. Just last week, we had an anti-race march against racism, and the majority, Julia, were white. They were marching against these protests and racist acts. They were white. We didn't see much black people for whatever reason, but they were white, standing against racism. What we really need is to bring people back together in harmony, because we will all feel the brunt of it.
Yeah, well, exactly, and also because an awful lot of these issues do actually come down to, economics, rather than, again, to someone's pigmentation in their skin. It's about the sort of backgrounds, as you mentioned, that kids are coming from. Where are the dads? Where are the strong, particularly male role models? They're not seeing them at school. They haven't got them at home often. And just the breakdown of family, the breakdown of sort of community, neighbourhood feeling. And that is devastating in many areas. Do you think that this is something that this government under Keir Starmer is going to get to grips with? Because, goodness me, I've been a news journalist for so many years, covered riot after riot. It's not the last time, it's not the first time, it's going to carry on happening. And people who are angry, who are disaffected, who feel that, that they don't matter, they are more likely to get involved in this sort of disorder and then have their lives ruined by having that criminal conviction. Whereas, if you're middle class, you've got a nice life, life's going well, you've got lots to look forward to, you're less likely to get involved. So how do we turn that around?
Julia, you're absolutely right with what you're saying. I met with Keir Starmer before he was elected as Prime Minister. I met with him on 2 occasions. The last occasion, he met with a group of parents that had lost their kids. and he made some promises to us. He stepped up for the job, and he really, really needs to deliver. The team that he has got together needs to engage with the local community. That still hasn't happened, which I'm really disappointed in. We organised a group of the community to go to Devon just last week, Sunday. And one of the organisers, he lost his son to knife crime, called Mikey. And he done a sports camp on the beach. When he announced that the sport camp has begun, we saw all nationalities coming to the beach, to the scene. We saw white girls, white boys, black girls.
Because why wouldn't
Asian,
it be like that?
And that was refreshing to me. What is the message I'm saying? We really need our government to be a man of integrity, do what is needed, and that is in engaging with the community, the grassroots leaders, and bringing our youth together, listening to every problem they have, which stems from the society that we're in. It filters into the home and into the parents.
Yeah, I think everything's going to come back to the parents. I really, really do. I think at the end of the day, we talk about community, whether there's a white community or black community or not, a lot of it just comes down to the individual family units, doesn't it? Really good to talk to you. Pastor Lorraine Jones Burrell, she's Chief Executive of the Dwayne Simpson Foundation. Of course, that's in tribute to her son, who was fatally stabbed in Brixton back in 2014. Thank you for that. Benedict Spence, it is interesting because race has been brought in massively. I mean, just this debate and all these debates, and it is interesting. I don't know that race is what the issue is.
I think race is only an issue in terms of where you see a lot of these problems forming. There are large minority communities, so that's actually why it ends up affecting certain racial blocks, if you like, certain ethnic blocks than others. But ultimately, children end up being products of the societies they're born in. So I think you're right to say that this comes down to the parents, but it does also come down to basic things like what the law is for, what it does, what it's being taught in schools, how discipline is enforced.
What your expectations are.
If children can see that there's no discipline in school, and they also hear and see about, they see the knife crime going on in the streets, they know nothing happens, they see how criminality is simply no longer punished. Why on earth isn't a child who is impressionable and out to test boundaries not going to do those things themselves? Ultimately, that is why it's really important to get a grip on these things, not just for the rest of society, but because it is reflected in what comes afterwards.
But again, I think a lot of other parents who are horrified their kids were out there, but also some of these kids, some of the things how they were behaving and what they were saying on the streets, they're getting that from home.
Of course, some of them are. Of course, you hear a lot, a few children sort of chanting.
My child at 12 or 13 is out on the streets in the middle of a riot, getting involved in violence. I'm sorry, that's my responsibility as a mum.
Your kid will be in military school by the end of the week.
She made it there alive.